Good morning. My cat is already being a menace. I hope everybody is having a great start to your day. I know it's early, but in order for me to be on here and have anybody watch me, I got to be on before the Karen Reed trial. I can't wait until that's over. I'm tired of seeing people fight on social media about that damn trial, so I cannot wait for that trial to be over. But anyway, so it has been a while since I've been on. I am still in my pajamas. That's totally okay. I'm sure everybody else is also in their pajamas. So I wanted to talk to you guys for a second before I get started and let you all know why I took a break. You saw the post, some of you probably saw the post that I made that I was taking a step back uh, due to my disappointment and overall feelings of the true crime space. Uh, After going to CrimeCon, there were some things that I saw and some creators that were at CrimeCon, not only at CrimeCon, but had booths, were invited to CrimeCon, are exactly the kind of people that I don't want in true crime. If you are going to harass a family, if you are going to accuse family members of things that you don't have any proof of, I can't support somebody like that. I cannot support CrimeCon as an organization. It's just not something that I can be a part of. I will no longer be attending CrimeCon. CrimeCon had its good things. It I got to meet people. It's a very rare opportunity to be able to mingle and meet certain people. And there's people that I never would have met had I not gone to CrimeCon. So I don't want to speak ill of the experience, but my personal experience is that I will likely not be back at CrimeCon unless some things change. Um, I just don't feel good about certain creators in a space that are causing issues for families. That stands against everything that I stand for because my concern is victims. My main concern is victims and their families. And if you do anything to hurt them, then I cannot support you. And honestly, there are some creators that I have loved as an individual that after speaking to some of the people that this creator has impacted, now it made me feel a lot of things. It made me seriously sit down and think about what am I doing? I know that I have done my best to always be respectful. I'm not perfect. I'm sure that I have done or said things that have likely upset people. I don't ever try to do that. But after the experience that I had, I was very exhausted. It honestly, it took me about almost 2 weeks to not be exhausted anymore from going to CrimeCon. I also fell. That sucked. My knee still hurts. Um, so I'm really good at falling. Since I moved into a house with stairs, I broke my foot and I hurt my knee. I hurt my knee on the 31st and it's still messed up. So I'm probably going to have to go to urgent care. Uh, because when my cat stepped on it, it felt like daggers in my knee. That's probably not good. I can walk. Like, it doesn't really hurt when I walk, but don't touch it. I fell really hard on some stairs. I have a big bruise right here still. I showed it to Dina, but um, yeah, I just want to make sure that everything that I do for the right reasons, and that anything that I put out in the universe is something that I wouldn't be ashamed of other people seeing. Um, so that's what kind of made me take a hiatus. And plus, I was exhausted. Even waking up, Like I had a really hard time just getting up in general. And um, ethics are important to me. Morals are important to me. Um, it bothers me so much when, other people make money off of somebody's pain. And I don't want to name the creator specifically because I don't want no beef. I'm not trying to start no issues, but um, just know that if I have to choose between a creator and a victim and their family, I'm going to choose the victim and their family. And that's what I'm going to stand beside. And I did let somebody at CrimeCon know how I felt and what I had a problem with. I thought that was important to do. So I did let them know what I had an issue with and who I had an issue with. So I told who needed to know who that person was and who I have an issue with. If you're on social media, you might figure out who it is if you're on Twitter. But anyway, I digress. Speaking of ethics, let's go into some other unethical things. So let's talk about LISK real quick. Now, I don't even, LISK, Rex, whatever the hell you want to call him, is totally separate from his daughter and his wife. You can do whatever you want with Rex. He has been charged, he is in jail, but his wife, daughter, and son are off limits, and they should be. I have seen so much speculation about the family, harmful speculation, and what came out the other day with that press conference was unacceptable. That is a very dangerous precedent to set that anybody can hold a press conference. So anybody can pull my Tumblr that I used. I forgot I have two Tumblrs, two. And I was looking them up and I'm like, oh, I was kind of a jerk on this one. I was in my early 20s and I used to have a one that was for me personally, and then I had another Tumblr that I would share the dating messages that I would get on dating apps. And I didn't block them out, nothing. Like, here you go. Uh, and I'm not really proud of that Tumblr, but that doesn't say who I am as a person either. But we don't. What really bothers me about that press conference is one, Victoria was a literal child when those murders happened. She was literally a child. And the vibe that I got from her was like she's like a goth kind of chick. Maybe not goth, all y'all know what I mean, like in that kind of group. She likes those kinds of things. And to have somebody be criticized due to the social media that they follow, following does not mean I endorse somebody. I follow a lot of people, especially on Twitter. And I've had somebody message me before and say, like, oh, you shouldn't support this judge. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then they're thinking that I'm supporting this judge because I follow them. Following, like, people take social media way too seriously. Like, I follow people because I want to see what they're saying, or maybe I think they're literally insane. So just for the record, there are people that I think are literally insane, and I follow them on Twitter. It doesn't mean that I support their message. It doesn't. It means that I want to see what kind of crazy shit they're going to say. Yeah, and I'm not saying that that's it with her, but she needs to be left alone, period. And for those of you that didn't see the press conference, I do have a clip. I know I saved it. I was having some issues with my YouTube playlist. But yeah, I was pretty pissed off when I saw that press conference. It made me physically ill. And I know that sounds dramatic, but it literally made me sick to my stomach to know that somebody could do this and then accuse somebody of being involved or whatever just because of social media. We have no way of knowing. We have no way of knowing if she viewed those images on Tumblr. Uh, she hasn't logged into that Tumblr account. Well, we don't know when the last time she logged in. The last time she posted was March 2020 because I went and looked. And the last time she posted was March 2020. She posts a lot of her art on there. And just because she follows stuff doesn't mean a damn thing. And one of the things that they posted was from the Hannibal show, like the Hannibal TV show where they had like the savant dude that was the cop and then the other guy is Hannibal. I only got through a couple episodes. I wasn't a big fan of it, but I definitely remember the lady being on antlers in there and then John Ray thinks he's got some. Oh, there's a lady with some antlers, just like this other victim. Like, are you stupid? It's a TV show. Uh, but yes, it made me physically sick to my stomach just knowing that information like this is being spread, and it really bothers me. And this right here was exactly what one of the reasons why I took a step back because of unethical things like this. But because there's things like this going on, there needs to be more ethical people in this space. I'm going to play a clip of this so you guys can see how ridiculous this is. It's only a couple minutes long.
For those who are unfamiliar, a furry is an enthusiast for anthropomorphized animal characters, often portrayed in sexualized fashion. A sampling of this person's content can be found on the Twitter account ebchimera_adult. I might add that these images are not for the...
Also, what about these people that make their tumblers? All these people that make these tumblers are going to have issues now. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm gonna burp. Hold on. Let me put the video back on so I can burp in silence.
Faint of heart. It is cartoon pornography, but it depicts various grotesque acts of bestiality. That this person produces grotesque cartoon hentai style pornography is significant, as it is seemingly the only account with which Victoria has engaged publicly, deeming this person's content worthy of a reblog, and that according to the district attorney, Rex Heuermann himself searched specifically for hentai porn, searches which the DA described as sadistic. While Victoria's likes on Tumblr are not available for public review, some counts are, she has chosen not to make hers public. We can look to the list of accounts she follows to inform us as to what kinds of images Victoria is viewing. Upon examination of the roster of accounts Victoria follows on Tumblr, nearly every account is focused on the circulation of furry art and images. Victoria has a preference for furry pornographic material.
Who cares? Who the hell cares?
As seen on various accounts, and I'll go into some of these accounts right now. There's Ebony Chimera, a furry porn content creator, NIEH Furry, a furry content and furry porn creator. I guess I should be thankful, a furry porn and furry content creator who links to a fan fiction account of theirs on a website called Archive of Our Own, which publishes explicit content. This person's works and bookmarks displays a preference for fan fiction with the self-described themes of graphic depictions of violence, rape, child abuse, strangulation, underage prostitution, asphyxiation, and rough sex. Squeak Squad 524, a blog which describes itself as an art blog of Yiffertons, Yif and its derivations, being slang terms used by furries to refer to pornographic content of anthropomorphic animal characters. Lilera, the account from which most of these images come, and it's an account which circulates disturbing images of gore, violent pornography, and other fetish content. The content creator describes themselves and their blog and their bio as a gore whore, with content warnings self-described as extreme gore, hard vor, violence extreme, vor being cannibalistic imagery of a victim eaten alive. This is to quote the dictionary, the prey's flesh being ripped, chewed, or bitten, resulting in horrific injuries and often loss of life. According to a translator familiar with Scandinavian languages with whom we consulted, Victoria's account handle Vinan de Madtour may itself be an allusion to eating and consumption, a disturbing reference when considered in the context of the hard vor fetish content Victoria views and follows.
Sorry, I was paying attention to the cat. This she keeps trying to jump on my computer, and she's being a little heathen. But yeah. Anyway, I don't really give a shit what she looks at. Pornhub is now blocked in like multiple states, so um maybe people are gonna have to move to Tumblr for stuff. And who cares? I don't know when she made her Tumblr. Oh, my dog and cat are fighting now. That's great. The dog is trying to correct the cat for bothering me. Um, like it. This is just. It's ridiculous. It's. I don't care what she's into. Right now, the only thing I'm worried about is oh, my baby hair sticking out. No, uh, I'm worried about Victoria. How dare you air out her personal business like that? And then they try to act like it's all suspicious that they deleted their social media and didn't make it public. Well, duh. Why would you have it public when the whole world is watching you? I don't have anything to hide, but you better believe when we were going through our legal stuff that I had everything private because people, because of this very reason, they will take a small part of something and twist it. Jen, it's already banned here in Texas. It's already banned here. Pornhub and RedTube can no longer be accessed in Texas, and it's like 13 other states it's are coming. But like, there's no reason for this. There's no reason for what is happening to Victoria. I am personally concerned about her mental well-being, and for anybody to think that she's involved, unfollow me, block me, delete me, because there's the no. She's was a child. Just because your father is a serial killer doesn't make you a serial killer. Say it again. Just because your father's a serial killer doesn't make you a serial killer. Last time I checked, Carrie Rawson's not. And Carrie has been outspoken about what is happening to uh, Victoria, and I'm appreciative that Victoria has somebody like Carrie in her corner. And Carrie has a lot going on herself, and Carrie has been attacked for being, BTK's daughter. She has been through so much herself. So she's trying to help them not go through what her family did. So I appreciate that she's being outspoken because so Victoria was, I think the oldest she was at one point was 13 for the last one. She was 13 for the last murder because she was born, let's remember, she was born in 1997 and the murders happened in the last ones happened in the early 2000s. Born in 1997. She was born my freshman year of high school. Makes me feel very old, but she wasn't old enough. And if she was, the chances of a teenage girl doing something like that are statistically so low. I mean, could it happen? Sure, anything is possible. I could win the lottery. Aliens could visit me today, but it's probably not going to happen. And it bothers me so much. And I appreciate that Carrie and Raul have been so outspoken. She was born in 96. I was close. I knew it was sometime where I was young. She was born in 96. So still very young. She's born in the mid 90s. So she's still too young. And right now your 20s, I know for me my 20s were all about like experimenting and pushing the envelope. If I go back and think about the stuff that I did and said in my early 20s, oh my God. I don't know how I didn't get pulled into HR in my 20s. Because if you guys think I say some stuff now, whew, I said some things in my 20s. And like I personally, I have had my MySpace deleted and all that stuff because I don't want anybody going back and looking through it. I couldn't get into it, so I sent my ID over to MySpace. I have no idea what's on there. Oh, I'm going to burp again. Excuse me. Woof. Anyway, but yeah, leave family members of serial killers alone, of murderer. Leave families alone. Point blank, period. I went on TikTok the other day and I haven't been on my TikTok in a while. And there's this one case that every time I share it, every single time somebody has to make a comment. It's the husband. It's the husband. It's not the husband. Stop accusing people of murder that have not been suspected, not been arrested. Stop. It's harmful. It's harmful. Period. Just because this person has gotten remarried after years, mind you, he didn't get remarried right away. It took years. And people are like, "Oh, he got remarried. He did this, whatever." Who cares? If I jumped into another relationship because I was mourning and didn't want to be alone, am I a horrible person? If I had already gotten married and decided to have a kid, does that mean that I don't love Austin? No. And I'm getting really tired of that. And I need a little sip of water now. And also, we have no clue what it was like for Victoria in her home. We have absolutely no clue. People assumed they knew what happened in Carrie's life, but they had no idea how bad the abuse got for Carrie. No idea. So we have no clue what Victoria and her family have gone through behind closed doors. Absolutely none. And I'm going to share a quick video from News Nation. Carrie did this interview at CrimeCon just to, one, I want, for everybody that wasn't at CrimeCon, Carrie did give a victim impact statement talking about her father, and she did find evidence that she was sexually abused when she was a toddler because her dad kept very meticulous records. And again, we have no clue what Victoria has been exposed to. Maybe she saw something when she was a kid and doesn't remember, and this is how she's working through it. I have no idea, but one thing I do know is that she didn't kill them. She didn't do it. That I know that. And let me reshare my screen. So I'm going to share this for you guys real quick about Carrie. And I do agree. I feel like people think they're emboldened. I think it's gotten worse since CrimeCon. It could be my perception that I feel like things have gotten worse since CrimeCon. That I think things are getting worse in the true crime space.
I mean, that's got to bring back emotions for you and new revelations and.
Oh, well, and for sure. And one of the things I'm going to be sharing here at CrimeCon is a victim impact statement. And I'm going to be sharing that we found in my dad's journal entries a notation that's marked 1981 in all caps, Carrie/BND/game. And we know BND is bondage. And so when I went in to see the Osage County Sheriff's Office the first night in June, they let me look at the journal, say it found it, and they wanted me to find it. And we knew right away that it's pretty much symbolizes that my father committed sexual abuse against me when I was like two and a half. And there's another notation in there too right after that. Now, in June, then I went in to see my dad the next day, but I wasn't able to confront him at that time. I finally did in October. I did trauma therapy, I did EMDR, and then I went back in and saw my dad in October, and I confronted him with it, and we showed him the journal entry, and we showed him this photo of him. There's a Polaroid that's not been publicized that he took where he's dressed up like a woman, and he's got like long hair, and he's over a doll that he made that's a child, and strangling the doll. And when I saw the photo this summer, I knew that's what he had done to me.
Good evening once again. I'm Maurice Dubois.
Welcome back.
So, something that Carrie mentioned during her panel, too, was that she actually has damage to an artery in her neck. So, that is likely proof of what happened to her. Why else would she have damage to her neck? That would be too coincidental. But we have no idea what went on in Rex's home. We have no clue. So the actions of his family may not make sense to us, but we don't know if they're terrified. We don't know what they're going through. And they're being watched under a microscope right now. So just don't feed into the speculation. Don't feed into speculation on any case. Speculation can be harmful. Now, if somebody's arrested and accused, that's different. But it bothers me when innocent people are accused or get their lives ripped apart because of this. And I know a few families where people have been accused or harassed because of something that happened to them. It's already the worst time in their lives. They don't need any extra stuff added on. And I do agree. The popular ones are capitalizing. And, I may not grow very fast with what I'm trying to do. I may not drive clicks and views, but my conscience is clear.
Back, I'm Christine Johnson. Pictures of a younger Rex Heuermann at a gun club are shedding new light on the case.
CBS 2's Carolyn Gussoff spoke with a gun club member who remembers Heuermann as a hulking figure competing in shooting events.
The public's only seen him facing charges as a serial killer in the murder of 6 women. But shooting instructor Ira Rudderman remembers Rex Heuermann as an affable, high-powered gun enthusiast who regularly competed and volunteered as a coach at the Peconic River Sportsman's Club.
You don't miss him in a room. So when it came up on the news, I'm like, oh, he's been at some of our events.
Months ago, police asked for gun club records as they returned to the Manorville woods to re-examine the murders of Jessika Taylor and Valerie Mack. Their dismembered bodies were left here 2 decades ago. Gun club records show Heuermann took part in public shooting competitions and courses in the early 2000s in Manorville at the Sportsman's Club.
There it was. He had attended some events. I was kind of surprised that he'd his name popped up as often as it did. But I guess it just places him in the area, that he knew the area.
Participating in one event the day before victim Jessika Taylor disappeared. Heuermann's own shorthand, say prosecutors, notes dump sites in this bone-chilling planning document found in his home on an erased hard drive.
It's a tremendous direct piece of evidence for the case.
None of it shocking to Fred Klein, who prosecuted serial killer Joel Rifkin, another Long Islander who changed his M.O.
He also would dismember them and dispose of the body parts in different locations. He, eventually learned to dispose of these people in remote areas and various areas. So I think Heuermann is very similar.
Heuermann maintains his innocence. If he's guilty, his family says he was living a double life they knew nothing about. That's a claim that an attorney for some of the victims plans to challenge in a news conference on Thursday.
And let's make that clear. He's not an attorney for some of the victims. He's an attorney for one family, and he wormed his way into that. And Jessika Taylor's birthday was, I believe it was yesterday, and she would have been 41. And I thought about that yesterday, that her and I are only 3 days apart. My 41st birthday will be Thursday. And I'm going to cry just thinking about it. Like, it makes me so sad that her life was cut off, way too young, way too early. And like, I've had the privilege to get to 41, and I think it just makes it closer to home knowing that we're just 3 days apart. Her mother gave birth to her, and just 3 days later, I came into that world, and I know how I got to grow and become a better person and explore the world and all that. And it makes me really sad that she wasn't able to do that. And you guys see, nothing has changed. I'm already crying. I cry a lot. But yeah, just yesterday was a tough day for Jessika Taylor's family. Every birthday, every anniversary, every holiday is going to be hard for them. So just think about Jessika Taylor and her family. All right, so that is enough of LISK for this morning, and enough of my ranting. So now we're going to get into some actual news stuff. But yes, we always want to not accuse anybody. Remember that speculation is dangerous. And yeah, just don't harass people. And don't support creators that harass people. And I would love to give you a list of names of people that, I have an issue with, but I'm not trying to start beef or anything. So, yeah. So, a few weeks ago, I had shown a video of a trans woman that had ran over an elderly guy and then just walked up to him and stabbed him. And people thought, and she ended up kissing him too after stabbing him. There was a video of the whole thing, multiple witnesses. It was very disturbing to see, but it turns out that she didn't know the person she killed at all. She just decided to kill them that day. And I have an update of that from Houston. I have a couple stories from Houston in a row, and then we'll move on to some other areas. Let me move this over. Yes, it was very bizarre. And it's very disturbing to know that somebody can... No, wait, that's not the one I want. Somebody can just snap and decide that you're the person that day. I feel like that it used to be less common that it was stranger attacks, like a stranger on stranger. But now I feel like these random attacks are becoming more and more common.
Only on 13. The transgender woman accused of violently killing a stranger in Southeast Houston tells ABC 13 she has no regrets about what she did.
So video of this crime received national attention because of its brutality. Police say it shows Corone Fisher running over a man before she then stabbed him multiple times. Today, Fisher told ABC 13's Brooke Taylor this was all completely random.
Now, Brooke, the question all of us, I'm sure including the victim's family, want to know is why?
Well, Corone Fisher told me that this was a completely random attack. She had no idea who this victim was. I asked her if she saw our report, she saw this disturbing video. She said she did, and really what was so chilling for me when I spoke to her face to face was how calm she was. She said she had zero regrets and just no remorse. There were no cameras or phones during this jailhouse interview, no paper, pen, nothing. It was just Corone Fisher and I separated by glass, and we spoke through a phone. Again, she identifies as transgender. She was wearing a wig pulled back like you saw in that court video earlier. In the video, officials say she was seen brutally running over that man. She reverses, hits him again. She then returns, jumps over his body and kisses him before repeatedly stabbing him in front of witnesses and in broad daylight. Fisher acknowledged a history of mental health with me. She said she came out as transgender at 16 years old and became a prostitute. She said God saved me that day many times, and that really was her main message. But I can't reiterate enough how she said over and over, I gave her many chances to say whether she had any regrets, to talk to me and acknowledge how horrifying that video is that we keep replaying, and again, just nothing from her.
Almost makes it a little bit more disturbing there, Brooke. Now, I know you talked to the victim's family after that interview today. What's their reaction to all of this?
I did, Eric. You know, we wanted to reach out to Stephen Anderson's family. At the end of the day, he is the victim here, and so is his family in this just disturbing, brutal attack. He's 65 years old. His family wanted to remain anonymous and, you know, protect their safety. So they shared these photos of us with Stephen Anderson. These are new pictures of him. He leaves behind a daughter and 3 grandchildren. He was retired after working as a manager for MD Anderson for more than 20 years. But his daughter tells me that he was still doing volunteer work. His family says that really it's just scary. That was the word they used when I asked about their reaction to her lack of remorse. They say this could have been anyone, anyone's father, grandfather, and child. So the whole community, they said, should really be rallying for justice. And his daughter just wants to see Fisher locked away. She wants people to remember her father as thoughtful, generous, and the sentimental man that he was. Meanwhile, Fisher's bond is set at a combined $900,000, including that murder charge. When I spoke to her about this, she says she can't afford bond. She says acknowledges that that's where she's going to be, and she says she accepts the consequences that come along with those actions, Eric.
Yeah, that was a very disturbing video, and they admitted that they had mental health issues. I think that I'm very concerned about the mental health in this country. I feel like we're seeing, because, you know, I go through tons of news clips to gather news for this stuff, and I have seen so many random attacks. Mental health care in this country is abysmal. So where are people supposed to go get help? And then they're out on the street and whatever, you know, and I don't care so much about her being transgender, and if they separate her, you know, I don't want anything to happen to her in prison. So whatever they need to do to make her safe. However, clearly they have a mental issue that needs to be taken care of. So that person not only needs to be safe in prison, the prison needs to be safe from her, because if she's just going to randomly attack a stranger out in public, she's probably going to do the same thing in prison. And I feel like this is a case where bond should be denied. That seems like a pretty clear and present danger to society, but bond is very rarely denied in Harris County, and I don't know why. A baby was found, and this has a happy ending. The baby's okay. I don't want y'all to worry, but a man was spotted dropping off an infant, like a literal newborn, umbilical cord still attached, in a park in Houston.
A newborn baby girl with her umbilical cord still attached, wrapped in a blanket, and left on a bridge. Witnesses say the shocking video shows the man who abandoned her. The baby was found this morning on Casa Martin Drive near Greenhouse Road in West Harris County. ABC 13's Brooke Taylor spoke to the couple who found the baby and is credited with saving her life. Brooke joins us now live.
Tom, these parents have a 3-year-old little girl themselves, so they say, especially as parents, they can't imagine how anyone could possibly do this to their child. It was also a really hot day out today, so deputies say this could have ended much differently if they weren't out there at the exact time. Watch this shocking video. A man with a newborn baby wrapped in a towel walks back and forth before abandoning the child. Deputies say the baby still had an umbilical cord and was left on the middle of a bridge at the end of Casa Martin Drive near the bayou. Luckily, Daniela Fideli and Louis Marine happened to have been on a walk with their 3-year-old daughter.
In that moment, I saw a blanket. It wasn't a blanket, it was a towel on the floor. And I told my daughter to stop. I was like, stop, let me see what it is. I noticed there was a baby, and the first thing that I noticed was her little feet moving. She wasn't crying or anything.
The couple says they also witnessed the man running. Surveillance footage from a neighbor captures the moments they made the shocking discovery. Marine held the baby as his wife called 911.
Look at the baby giving me that I'm like, I couldn't tell. I'm like, it's a newborn. I hold it and I'm like, how can somebody just leave a baby like this? You know, like that's heartbreaking.
The little girl is at Methodist Hospital in Katy and is going to be okay, according to deputies. The man faces charges of abandoning and endangering a child, while the sheriff's office is asking the public's help in finding him. This couple hopes to visit the baby at the hospital and is grateful for being in the right place at the right time.
She deserves better. And I hope this doesn't define her life, and I hope she goes on into living a good, powerful life.
Brooke Taylor, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
Okay, so a man dropped off the baby. Where's the mother? Why is nobody asking where the mother is? What if something happened to her? What if he did something to her? You know, maybe that wasn't her choice. You know, we have no idea. It's an awful lot of assumptions, you know, in that news broadcast. Again, no clue. I'm glad that the baby is okay, but it's especially weird that a man dropped off the baby that way. And there's so many different, maybe it was a teenage mom. Maybe we have no idea. Oh my God, I'm going to burp again. I'm sorry, guys. Hold on. Okay, way better. Sorry. Yeah, I took Gas X, but I am still super bloated from eating onions yesterday. My IBS. I should have known better. But anyway, yeah, I hope that the mother is okay. I do. We have no idea what happened. I'm very grateful that those people were on walking and saw the baby and that the baby is totally okay. So I'm assuming that they'll be able to do a DNA test. Well, that's if she's in the system. If the mom's in the system, we'll see. But yeah, do you guys want to hear my epic burps? I have some pretty good ones. So random, I saw a video of the woman that won the Guinness, Guinness records, the world record for the loudest female burp. And it is 107 decibels. 107! That's pretty damn loud. I'm not that loud. But I can get pretty loud. And My roommate tells me all the time, "Oh, you're so ladylike. That's so lady." I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm such a fucking lady." Like, anyway, but yeah, Raul does have a lot of babies on his map, sadly. So I'm very glad that this um, this time it worked out. Now, if you are in a situation where you are pregnant, you're scared, you don't know what to do, you can leave the baby at a hospital. There's baby Moses laws. You can leave the baby in a safe box. They have those at a church or the fire department. You know, no questions asked. You can just leave the baby. I know it doesn't seem like that is true, but it's true. And you won't get in trouble, but you will get in trouble for leaving a baby outside. And thank God, because it's been so hot. It's been really hot in Texas, and the weather in Houston has been horrible with rain and all that stuff. So thank God there wasn't a storm or something. Now, the next story is about a young woman that was found hung. So I don't know if it was made to look like she had taken her own life, but it did find out, they were able to figure out that she didn't, and they do have a suspect. So that is the next story.
A horrific discovery in League City. A mother of four found hanging from the end of a dock at the Wharf Marina where she lived.
Yeah, now more than a week after her death, police say they suspect foul play. ABC 13 Shannon Ryan explains why police do not believe this was a suicide.
The victim has been identified as 30-year-old Giselle Salazar Tapia. Police tell me the way her body was found positioned, hanging from the end of that rope, leads them to believe she died elsewhere, that the hanging was staged. Giselle Salazar Tapia's jewelry still decorates her boyfriend, James Hartz's boat.
All these necklaces, this one is hers, this is all her stuff that I've given her.
Their shared home since March. This is the last known place she was seen alive.
It's been the most horrific experience of my life.
Neighbors found the mother of four's body hanged from a dock at the end of their marina late last month.
She was partially submerged in the water.
League City Lieutenant Eric Cox now telling ABC 13 detectives believe foul play was involved, that her death was not a suicide.
As it stands, when she was found, her arm was suspended up in the air, and there was nothing holding it there. So we believe that she probably passed away with her arm extended up above her head like that, and then rigor mortis had set in prior to her being placed there, is what we're thinking happened.
The department has identified two persons of interest in the case.
Looking at two primaries right now. There are people that we know she probably had the closest interaction with while she was living out there. So they have both been interviewed.
Hart, who says he feels he's been criminalized since his girlfriend's death.
I would never hurt Giselle.
Tells us she left their boat to go to the bathroom early that Friday morning.
I thought she'd just gone for a couple days. She'd be back in a couple days.
He says he didn't know she was dead until police recovered her body that afternoon. That he can't watch what happened because both his surveillance cameras, and that's your camera,
Missing over here.
had inexplicable issues before her death. Let me just get this straight. There are two cameras on
There's a camera right there.
each side of your boat. One was hand turned around.
This one?
The
Yep.
other is missing.
Yes.
Police say they have thousands of surveillance videos to comb through. They also tell us that they've been suspicious of the death since day one, but they're just now making those suspicions public, hoping anybody else with additional evidence will come forward. Now, they tell us they've been called out to the boat several times prior for incidents involving Salazar Tapia, something neighbors also told us.
Well, I'm not going to speculate shit because that's my thing. I don't want to speculate. Y'all can draw your own conclusion with that. We'll see. We'll see. I'm sure there will be an update on that. I'm trying I don't want to speculate because then I will be doing. I'll be a hypocrite if I do that. But I don't know. Somebody turned the camera. Somebody did something. So a Uber Eats delivery driver was shot on the job while wife and children were in the car. I don't think you're supposed to have kids in the car when you do it. Regardless, nobody deserves to be shot when they're making like $3 on a delivery. Tip your delivery drivers, guys. Make sure you're tipping them. And then if they suck, take the tip back. But put a tip. They go through enough. Like how many delivery people have we seen stories of where they've been shot at, robbed? The one guy was murdered. They don't get paid enough for that.
A violent attack on a delivery driver while he was on the job last night. Houston police say an Uber Eats driver was making a food delivery at this apartment complex around 10 o'clock last night while his wife and child waited in the car. When he came back, someone allegedly approached him and shot him in the chest. HPD says the victim was transported to the hospital, and at last check, they say he's alive and in stable condition. We're told his wife and child were not hurt. Investigators don't have a suspect in custody yet and are working on a description. If you have any information, you're asked to contact Houston.
How are y'all working on a description? Don't they know what he looks like? I hate that. I hate that so much. I hate when there's news stories and then they don't have a description like at all. I don't know if it's a man, woman, alien, black, white, purple. Like, y'all know something. How are we supposed to give you information? But anyway, in Maryland, the governor pardoned 175,000 marijuana convictions, lower level. That'll never happen in Texas. No, never.
Maryland Governor Wes Moore has issued a sweeping pardon to 175,000 people who have been convicted of marijuana-related crimes. The historic state-level pardon applies to minor crimes, including misdemeanor possession of cannabis and drug paraphernalia. While speaking today, the governor said Maryland is taking actions that are intentional and unapologetic. Take a listen.
This is the largest such action in our nation's history. Undoing decades of harm cannot happen in a day. But we're going to keep up the work. We're going to keep up the pace.
Now, the pardon comes after voters approved a constitutional amendment in 2022 that legalized marijuana in the state. ABC News' Jay O'Brien joins me now with more. Jay, what's the latest here?
And it's interesting, Ike, you talk about that constitutional amendment. That was the crux of the argument, among other arguments that the governor made, is that if the state has a different legal approach to marijuana now, it's worth looking backwards and dealing with the people, particularly black and brown Americans, who had marijuana-based convictions on actions that now, under this new constitutional amendment, might be legal. This is, as you noted earlier, something that's going to impact more than 100,000 people. And the point that the governor made when rolling out this clemency is he said that these marijuana convictions followed a number of these Marylanders like stigmas over the rest of their life. Even if they got out of prison, it denied them jobs in some instances, denied them housing. And so the purpose of this, as the governor put it, was to try to right past wrongs.
Now, Jay, President Biden did a similar order federally and called on governors to follow suit. What's the significance of this, and do you think other states will follow?
Well, it's interesting because Moore makes a note in the sound you just played, too, of saying that he's going further than any other state governor had gone before. And that's true. And there's a couple things to note here. A, there's a national attitude toward marijuana that is changing at the state level. There are states that have legalized it, et cetera, et cetera. And so that might impact this. And additionally, it's worth keeping in mind that this is a very notable governor doing this. He's a rising star in the Democratic Party. He is someone that other governors and other policymakers watch. So the exact national impact of this decision is still yet to be seen, but it is a high-profile Democratic individual doing it. And of course, as you noted, it dovetails with those calls from the White House for states to, in some form or fashion, maybe not go this far, but to revisit this issue.
Everywhere needs to revisit this issue. I just said in the chat, like, I know someone that, like 20 years ago, they had a joint and they were charged as an adult in Texas. Texas doesn't play. And even now, Texas laws are all over the place. Let's see. For those of you that don't know, there's a bunch of warships in Cuba. Cuban Missile Crisis 2.0.
About 100 miles from Florida tonight, 4 Russian warships steaming into Havana Bay, including a nuclear-powered submarine. The U.S. tracking this with a show of force. They are set for military drills, these Russian ships, with Cuba for the first time in 16 years. ABC's Martha Raddatz reporting tonight.
Tonight, a brazen display of Russian military force just over 100 miles from Florida's coast. Russia's longtime ally, Cuba, welcoming 4 Russian warships, including a nuclear-powered submarine with a 21-cannon salute. As Russian military drills begin in the Caribbean nation for the first time in 16 years. The Russians say the ships have already conducted drills in the Atlantic, simulating long-range missile strikes aimed at targets more than 300 miles away. Although Russian ships routinely dock in Havana, this military exercise is a clear provocation that the Pentagon is seeking to downplay.
We, of course, take it seriously, but these exercises don't pose a threat to the United States.
The exercises come as the Biden administration dramatically widens sanctions on Moscow, and they follow Vladimir Putin's threats in response to the U.S. giving permission to Ukraine to use U.S.-supplied weapons to hit Russian targets near Ukraine's border. David, the U.S. Navy and Canadian Navy have been shadowing the Russians' movements with their own warships. Tonight, a U.S. official saying the Russian ships will remain near Cuba for several days before making their way to Venezuela.
Oh yeah, I feel great about that. Like, yeah, they're just, hanging out in Cuba and then going over to Venezuela. No big deal. Why isn't this a bigger deal? It's a big deal. As somebody that grew up with Cuban immigrants, my dad immigrated from Cuba. I wish my dad was here so I could ask him his thoughts on some of these things. But and I had a really hard time finding a video and information about this when I was like Googling Russian warships near Cuba. It pulled up mostly tweets, and I don't get my information from tweets. I don't do it. So I had shared let me see if I can find it now. So I had shared a tweet, pretty horrible thing that happened in Queens. So just fair warning before I start talking that it's going to be graphic, what I'm talking about. So there was a man that was in a Queens Park and tied up a boy, like 13 years old or so, and then made him watch while he raped his classmate. And they have been looking for that person. Let me see. I just got tagged in it. Somebody, here we go. Does this have a video? Maybe. He was arrested. He's in custody now. Oh God, is there a video? Are you loading? Okay. I don't know if this is going to give us the information I want. But yeah, I decided, so I do have merchandise, but I haven't really promoted it or anything because I don't give a shit about money. As much as I would love to make money. But I'm probably going to make some passive-aggressive shirts. One of the shirts that I am coming up with is like there's no true crime without victims, respect victims, and stuff like that. I'm gonna come up with a whole bunch of shirts with sayings, about all the stuff that I'm pissed off about. So then people kind of like Light the Way has the victim exploitation is not advocacy, kind of like that, but different because I'm not gonna steal their stuff. But yeah, I'm really pissed off about all the stuff that's happening. So I'm going to make lots of shirts. I don't get my info from tweets. Should be one of them.
Following a
Yes.
very disturbing story.
So I'm going to share this video with you guys about what happened, but just know that the suspect was an Ecuadorian migrant that was caught. He's been in the country since 2021, and he had a machete when he attacked them. And if you guys don't know anything about machetes, they're pretty damn big. I have one. I don't know why I bought one for gardening. It's not like I need to hack through a jungle, but I got one.
This morning, developing out of Queens, the search is on for a man accused of sexually assaulting a 13-year-old girl.
That's right. Police say it happened in broad daylight at Casino Park. Good day's Robert Moses at the park in Flushing this morning with the very latest and a very detailed description of this suspect. Robert.
That's right, Dan and Tashani. Good morning to you. The size of the police presence here this long after the crime speaks not only to the seriousness of the crime, but also the urgency in finding this suspect. He is accused of a heinous act. Police sources say two friends, a 13-year-old boy and 13-year-old girl, were playing in Casino Park yesterday afternoon at about 3:30 when a man approached. Authorities say he showed a knife and forced them into a wooded area. Sources say he tied them up. He took cell phones from both of them and sexually assaulted the girl, police say. He then fled. It's unclear how the kids were able to get free. Police say they were taken to the hospital in stable condition. Authorities have not yet released any images of the suspect, but they know what he looks like. Detectives have been canvassing the area for video of him. Police describe him as a Hispanic man in his 20s who's about 5 feet 5 inches tall with curly hair. He was last seen wearing red sneakers and carrying a green backpack.
He's already been caught.
He appeared to be wearing braces.
We don't need all that information because he's already been caught, but that's what happened. So Tash said there will be an update at noon. So yeah, they have a picture. I shared it on my social media. We know what he looks like. But there will be a update at noon, probably a press conference. And the stuff that I was talking about this morning with ethics and Victoria and Rex and Carrie, the shaming of Jay is going to have Carrie and Raul on later to discuss those things. I'm sharing the link. I wish I could port you guys in there when we're done, but definitely check out that. Yeah, YouTube likes to mess stuff up and make things slow. Mine is running kind of not that great either. So I was talking about random attacks and that it seems to be happening more often, and there was mental illness when it had to do with the transgender woman that attacked the 65-year-old cancer center manager for no reason. Well, there was also in Ohio, a woman went up to a mother and her kid and ended up killing both of them. She stabbed both of them and the child died. And this looks like a case of mental illness too. There's no remorse at all whatsoever. And now they're claiming that they have killed before.
Topping our news this hour and in your 17 Crime Watch, a woman who stands accused of killing a child outside an Ohio grocery store says she's killed before here in Bakersfield. 17's Michaela Armstrong has the story.
Bianca Ellis is accused of fatally stabbing a 3-year-old boy outside a Cleveland, Ohio supermarket. Ellis is facing charges of murder, aggravated murder, attempted murder, and more. The 32-year-old pled not guilty to all 7 of her charges at her arraignment Monday. According to police, the motive for the stabbings is unclear and appears to have been a random attack. Still, according to court records, Ellis told police that a few months ago, she killed a woman in California. Bakersfield, California, and dumped the body in an unknown area, possibly near a river. Kern County criminal case records show Ellis was accused of 3 counts of battery charges in late January. Ellis's depiction to Cleveland police was vivid, describing in the court records the victim was a, quote, a white female, approximately 5'6", 150 pounds, and she was a bartender, worked at a bar. We reached out to the Bakersfield Police Department about the possible murder, and a spokesperson for the department responded, quote, Ellis did make some spontaneous statements, which were relayed to our investigators. This information was shared with the other investigators to ensure that the information provided wasn't consistent with the unsolved homicides that we were investigating. Therefore, BPD did not have enough evidence to hold Ellis on a murder case, according to the spokesperson, stating, quote, the information does not match any cases actively being investigated. And at this time, Ellis is not a person of interest or being investigated for any offense. But did Ellis kill someone in Bakersfield? Is there an unsolved murder that could have been at the hands of this accused killer? And does she have an alleged pattern of spontaneous killing? Many questions remain, but BPD says in regards to Ellis, the case is closed in Bakersfield. Police previously arrested Ellis on allegations of petty theft in Walmart in Ohio, arrested her for a nonviolent crime in Florida. And NBC News spoke to a detective who is working on her case currently and said there was nothing in her past to suggest, quote, that she has any violent tendencies. She is under a $5 million bond, and the prosecution is seeking the death penalty. Michaela Armstrong, 17 News.
17 News has uncovered additional details linked to Bianca Ellis's arrest in Bakersfield back in January. According to court documents obtained by 17 News, Ellis was a patient at Kern Medical, where she allegedly attacked 3 hospital staffers. Police reports say Ellis refused to leave the hospital after receiving treatment, and when security tried to remove her from the hospital, she kicked 2 security guards and a nurse. Ellis was arrested and charged with 3 counts of misdemeanor battery, but no court hearings are currently scheduled in connection to those charges.
Yeah. Something is wrong with her. Clearly something is wrong. But instead of getting help, then she just keeps getting arrested and released and hurting more people because we don't have a system that will help. That's great. All right. Okay, let me see what else I'm going to share before we finish, because I know, Karen Reed is starting soon, so. Well, we know that there's a bunch of crazy stuff happening in the Young Thug trial, so I'm going to skip those. All right, we already did all those. I'm looking for something happy to share. But while I look for something happy, let me put on a different video so we don't waste the limited time that we have. So in Round Rock, there was a shooting at a Juneteenth event. Multiple people were shot, 2 people were killed. And this has been all over the news here because, it's Texas. This is near Austin.
And sadly, there was another mass shooting overnight, this one in Texas during a Juneteenth event. ABC's Melissa Adon is here now with those details. Melissa, good morning to you.
And Janae, good morning to you. Such devastation over at a Juneteenth celebration. This one happening in Round Rock, Texas. That's just outside of Austin. This is where officials say 2 people were killed, 6 hospitalized. including 2 children. Now, overnight, this is what we're learning from police. They're sharing that a deadly fight broke out. Police alleging that at least one suspect took out a gun and fired. Police say multiple victims were then struck by gunfire, including bystanders. Now, 2 people dying from their wounds. The shooting happening at the Old Settlers Park near the concert stage. This was with a packed crowd where the community of Round Rock, Texas was actually hosting their 2nd annual Juneteenth celebration. Now, at this point of the investigation, it is early on, and police just do not know how many shooters were there because all of those suspects at this point are at large. But this morning, we're talking about those 6 people that are hospitalized. Officials there saying that they're all facing possible serious injuries, including those 2 children.
We were thinking.
What? That was a very weird way to word what she just said. The way that she was talking, I don't know. But yeah, so I guess that was 8 people shot in Round Rock, 2nd annual Juneteenth celebration. I'm going to guess that they won't have another one. Maybe, maybe not. Let's see. So I'm just going to play 2 more videos before I let y'all go and then try to end with something happy. All right. Where's the other one? So another mass shooting that happened that was at a splash pad, unfortunately, and people were, yeah, you can't go to splash pad, can't go to the grocery store, can't work for DoorDash, can't just lock yourself in your house, but you need to have your house set up for like the purge to be absolutely safe. So this video came out a few hours ago, 14 hours ago, about the information about the shooter and about the motives. I'm going to assume mental illness plays a part in this too. I'm just going to throw that out there. Let's see. What we've learned.
But we begin with 7 investigator Heather Catallo looking into who the suspect is and what we're learning about his history.
The Oakland County Sheriff telling us they still do not have a motive as to why this man opened fire here at this splash pad. But the sheriff did say that family members had indicated the shooter had been growing increasingly paranoid. Neighbors in the DeQuinder Estates mobile home park say they never would have predicted that Michael William Nash would fire 36 shots into a crowded splash pad, hitting 9 people Saturday.
It makes you kind of wonder what people do behind closed doors. You just never know.
Kylene Duchesne McDougal lives next door to Nash and his mother in Shelby Township. McDougal says she's known the 42-year-old since he was just 21.
He's just lived there with his family the whole time. We've never seen anything odd with him.
Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard says his deputies were in touch with the shooter's mother, who told them about her son's recent increased paranoia.
It appears he had been musing about different things, saying, shut your phone off, we're being watched, they are listening to us, walking around the house with weapons, talking about them listening to him, and talking about how the government was tracking them. At this point, we still have no information that was brought to anyone's attention.
Bouchard says they recovered 1 gun at the splash pad and 11 weapons, including an AR-style rifle, inside the shooter's home. Bouchard says the shooter killed himself while deputies surrounded the house.
We have no information on any contacts that he had with law enforcement, no arrests, no criminal history.
The 7 investigators reviewed court records and only found some past financial issues, including a 2011 bankruptcy. Attorney Kelly Meeks remembers Nash as a 29-year-old who had lost his landscaping company after the 2009 economic crash.
And he lost the majority of his client base. So he had to let his employees go. His equipment was repossessed, and he was responsible for the balance owed on those loans after it was sold for pennies on the dollar. He saw himself more as a just down on his luck young man and felt like he would be able to rebound from this. He was not angry or combative at the circumstances.
Meek says she was stunned to learn the young man she met 13 years ago was responsible for Saturday's splash pad tragedy.
I was absolutely flabbergasted, knocked sideways. I was shocked that it was the same soft-spoken, pleasant young man that I had met with back in 2011 and represented. My heart just goes out to all of these folks that were injured and the families and everybody impacted by another horrible gun tragedy.
Sheriff Bouchard says the shooter's mother was not home at the time of this tragedy, and she has since hired a lawyer. The sheriff also telling us that his deputies have seized phones and computers from their home to try to determine what led up to this, but we may never know. In Rochester Hills, I'm Heather Catallo, 7.
Yeah, it's who knows? Maybe the family tried to get him help, maybe they didn't. I don't know, but it is really difficult to get an adult help in the mental health system if they don't want it. Like 20 years ago, when I was in an abusive relationship, he had bipolar disorder. He was having an episode. He was a danger. And me and a friend of mine took him to a mental facility and tried to get them to take him. But they interviewed him and determined that he was okay because he was able to say the right things to the doctors. And I had an issue where a neighbor came running to me because another neighbor's husband attacked her because he thought she was a demon and was like off in a different world in his head. Called 911. 3 hours later, nobody had still came, so the wife canceled the call because she didn't want him to get in trouble. And I know that there's been other cases, like there's been people that have been on the FBI watch list and knew that they were a potential danger and still went ahead and, were able to do what they were able to do. All right, so one more video of crime and then we'll do something not sad and then we'll be done. So this is probably one of the weirdest stories that I've ever seen, and it's really sad too because this man killed his sister because she got pregnant and was no longer innocent. This man killed his sister for being pregnant and married. Really, yeah, I have a lot of questions and I feel horrible for the family and the husband.
For Bethany Israel, family say she was having dinner with her brother, Jack Ball, when she was killed last week. She was around 18 weeks pregnant at the time. And tonight, that brother is now charged with her murder. Richard Reeve joins us live from Lakeville tonight with what we're learning about the investigation in this awful situation, Rich.
Yeah, Lindsay, in court documents, police say they found papers written by Ball. He said he was angry that his sister got pregnant. Neighbors say they've never seen a case like this.
Flowers, a cross, and a message of prayer outside this Lakeville home, where Bethany Israel, shown here with her husband Josh, was killed.
I would never imagine anything like this happening here.
Court documents say the 30-year-old went to have dinner here Thursday with her brother, Jack Ball. When family members did not hear from her, Israel's mother told police he drove to the home, saw Ball quickly leaving, and called 911 when she found blood inside. Cindy Bond lives across the street.
My husband heard a female, he thought it was a female scream, and then, like probably a minute thereafter, I heard shouting and the car peel out.
Prosecutors say arriving officers found multiple weapons and what appeared to be body parts. Officers found Ball in Rosemount after getting a 911 call about a man seen on a Ring camera on the front step of a home there. Police say he appeared to have a self-inflicted knife wound to his throat. Family members later told police Israel was pregnant with her first child.
It's been difficult being right across from this. It's really a nice neighborhood. We rarely have any issues. That's a sad thing.
Court documents say police found several journals and other handwritten paperwork belonging to Ball. In them, he wrote he was angry with his sister because she was pregnant and, in his words, no longer innocent.
I feel for this family, that poor mother, what she's going through. It's very sad.
Prosecutors have called the allegations in this case deeply disturbing and horrific. Ball remains in the hospital. His bond is set at $2 million. He faces a court hearing on June 10th.
Yeah, so that video is from a couple weeks ago, but it was so crazy that I had to include that because that's just, yeah. So obviously, that has to be some sort of mental illness because it's not normal to think of your sister in that way, that you're upset that she's pregnant. She got married, so that's weird. I feel horrible for the family, for sure. All right, so the last story of today has a happy ending. A man was stranded, and like we've seen in cartoons, he spelled out help, and that's how he was saved.
A stranded thrill seeker is desperate, so he lays out a bunch of rocks in the sand, spelling out the word help. It's like a scene straight out of the Tom Hanks movie, Castaway. But this did not take place on some remote island in the South Pacific. It happened on a beach in breathtaking Central California. The dude was trapped there by the towering cliff. There was nowhere to go but up. That help message was heeded. Watch as a firefighter is lowered by helicopter. After being secured to the tether, the rescuers lift him to safety in a perfect landing above the cliff.
For us, the high winds that we had at the time may have been, a little challenging, but with our aircraft really handles that kind of wind very well.
It turns out the rescued man was windsurfing like these ocean-loving acrobats when he ended up on the beach with no way out except for a pile of rocks that spelled help.
I think that they made him remove the help before they rescued him. I'm hoping. All right, today that is... Wait. All right, that's it for today. That's what I meant to say. Oh, that rhymed. I hope everybody has a beautiful day. Don't forget to check out The Shaming of Jay later. Carrie and Raul are going to be on there talking about what I was talking about this morning, the press conference, the ethics of true crime and all that stuff. There's the link there. And I'm going to go hang out with Brandy for a bit. So if you would like to join us there, there's a link. Thank you, Raul. It feels good to be back, and I'm feeling a lot better here and here. It's the Shaming of Jay is at 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. And I will be back again, maybe tomorrow, definitely on Thursday. Thursday is my birthday, so I think I'm going to do something fun at some point Thursday. Maybe I'll finally DJ, and that'll be my own birthday party, just here with you guys, because I don't have any plans. So we'll see. I'll make a post on YouTube. I figured out how to make YouTube posts finally. And I'll be posting on Twitter. Make sure that you're following me on other social media so you don't miss the stuff that I'm talking about and what I'm doing. Here is my Linktree one last time. And I will see you all again soon. I hope to see you tonight at the Shaming of Jays and right now with Brandy. Bye, y'all.